Growing up, my brother and I were close. We were only 2 years apart, so we shared everything, rooms, toys, even friends. Our parents always had a soft spot for him, though. He was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, while I had to work twice as hard to earn their approval. I didn't mind much at first. I figured that was just how families worked. When I met Lisa, I thought I had finally found someone who saw me for who I was. She wasn't just my wife. She was my best friend, my partner in everything. We had been together for 8 years, married for 5, and while things weren't always perfect, I believed we were solid. I had no idea that my own brother was the person who would destroy it all. I found out in the worst way possible. Lisa had been distant for months, but I assumed it was just stress. Then, one night, I came home early from work and found them together. My brother, my wife, in my home. The betrayal was a kind of pain I had never known. It wasn't just about Lisa, it was about him, my own flesh and blood. At first, he tried to act like it wasn't a big deal, like I would get over it. He actually had the nerve to say, "It just happened," as if a full-blown affair was something that just happened. Lisa looked guilty but didn't say much. Maybe she thought silence would make it hurt less. Didn't. I walked out that night, leaving everything behind. Our house, our shared life, even the dog we had raised together. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town and filed for divorce the next week. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was wrong. A few months later, my parents called me over for dinner. I should have known something was up, but part of me still wanted to believe they were on my side. When I got there, my brother and Lisa were sitting in the living room, looking nervous. Then my mom dropped the bombshell. Lisa was pregnant, with my brother's child. I was stunned. I couldn't even process it. But before I could react, my dad chimed in, saying that it was time for me to let go of my anger and forgive my brother. My mom nodded, adding that family was more important than anything, and I needed to support them through this. I laughed. I actually laughed because I thought they were joking. But they weren't. They expected me to not only forgive my brother, but also help them financially because my brother wasn't in a stable job and Lisa would need support during her pregnancy. That was the moment I realized just how deep their favoritism ran. They weren't just excusing his betrayal. They were asking me to take responsibility for it. I walked out that night just like I had walked out of my own house months before. But this time, it wasn't just Lisa I was leaving behind. It was my entire family. What I didn't know was that this was just the beginning. After that night, I went no contact with my family. I changed my number, blocked them on social media, and focused on rebuilding my life. It wasn't easy. The divorce was finalized quickly, but the emotional damage lingered. Nights felt longer, mornings felt heavier. I tried therapy, picked up new hobbies, and even started going to the gym just to have something to do. Anything to fill the emptiness. My brother and Lisa, on the other hand, moved in with my parents. He had always been financially irresponsible, jumping from job to job, never sticking with anything for long. Lisa had quit her job once she got pregnant, which meant they had no income of their own. My parents, ever the enablers, took them in without a second thought. A few months passed without any contact until one evening, I got a message from an unknown number. It was my mom. "We need to talk. It's important." I ignored it. Then another message came. "Lisa is having complications. She needs help." I hesitated. I didn't care about Lisa anymore, but I wasn't heartless. After thinking it over, I decided to at least hear them out. I drove to my parents' house, my stomach twisting in knots the whole way there. When I arrived, the first thing I noticed was how run-down the house looked. My parents had never been great with money, but I hadn't realized how bad things had gotten. Inside, my brother was lounging on the couch, playing video games like nothing had changed. Lisa was nowhere to be seen. My mom wasted no time getting to the point. "We need money for Lisa's medical bills." I blinked. "What?" "She's having a difficult pregnancy," she explained. and your brother isn't in a position to pay for the care she needs. I looked at my dad, expecting him to say something, but he just nodded along like this was all perfectly reasonable. I scoffed. So, let me get this straight. My wife cheats on me with my own brother, gets pregnant, and now you expect me to pay for her medical bills. She's still family, my mom insisted, and your brother needs you right now. I almost laughed. The entitlement was unbelievable. They had watched my marriage fall apart, watched me walk away, and yet, the moment they needed something, they acted like none of it had ever happened. I stood up. I don't owe you or them anything. My brother finally spoke up. Come on, man. It's not like we planned this. It just happened. That was the second time he had said that, and it made my blood boil. I turned to my parents, hoping they would say something, anything, to acknowledge how insane their request was. But all I saw was disappointment on their faces. At me, not at my brother, not at Lisa, at me for refusing to play along. I walked out without another word. That was the night I truly understood that, to them, my only value was what I could give. If I wasn't willing to sacrifice for them, I was nothing. I didn't think they could sink any lower. I was wrong. After that night, I was done. Truly done. No more answering calls, no more showing up out of guilt. I focused on myself, on moving forward. I got a promotion at work, started traveling more, and even made new friends who had no idea about the mess my family had become. Life was finally starting to feel normal again. But my family wasn't done with me. A few months later, I got an email from my dad. It was short, straight to the point. Your brother lost his job. The baby is almost here. We need help. I didn't even reply. Then the calls started coming in from different numbers. My mom, my dad, even some extended family members I hadn't spoken to in years. They all had the same message. Your brother is struggling. Family helps family. I ignored them all. Then, one afternoon, I got home from work to find my mom sitting on the steps outside my apartment building. I froze. I hadn't told them where I lived, which meant they had gone out of their way to find me. I sighed, already exhausted before she even opened her mouth. Mom, you can't just show up like this. She stood up, her face tight with frustration. I wouldn't have to if you answered your phone. I crossed my arms. What do you want? She let out a dramatic sigh. Your brother lost his job. Lisa is on bed rest. The baby is coming any day now, and we're drowning in bills. You have a good job, a stable life. Can't you just help a little? I shook my head. No, I'm not responsible for them. Her face hardened. So you're just going to let your niece suffer? You're going to turn your back on your own blood. That word, blood, made my stomach turn. It was the same argument they had used my whole life. But I wasn't that kid anymore, desperate for their approval. I already turned my back on my own blood the day you chose him over me, I said. Her mouth opened and closed, like she wanted to argue, but she had nothing to say. Then she played her last card. Your father isn't doing well. This stress is affecting his health. I should have felt something, guilt, concern, anything. But all I felt was exhaustion. I had spent my whole life carrying this family's burdens. I wasn't going to do it anymore. I'm sorry, Mom, I said, stepping past her toward the door. But I can't help you. She called after me, her voice sharp and desperate. One day, you'll regret this. I walked inside without looking back. For a while, things were quiet. Too quiet. Then, one night, I got a text from a cousin. Your dad was rushed to the hospital. And just like that, they pulled me back in. I sat staring at the message for a long time. My dad was in the hospital. A part of me wanted to ignore it just like I had ignored everything else. But another part, the part that still remembered him teaching me how to ride a bike, how to fix things around the house, hesitated. I told myself I would just go to check on him, nothing more. No big reunions, no second chances. Just see if he was okay. Then leave. When I got to the hospital, my mom was already there, along with my brother and Lisa. My brother looked annoyed to see me, like I was intruding on his moment of concern. Lisa avoided eye contact, resting her hand on her very pregnant belly. My mom, on the other hand, looked relieved. "You came," she said, eyes glassy. I ignored the emotions in her voice. "What happened?" She sighed, rubbing her forehead. His blood pressure spiked. The stress, it's been too much for him. Then she glanced at me, just long enough to let me know she was blaming me for that stress. I didn't respond. I walked past them and into the room where my father was lying in a hospital bed. He looked smaller somehow, weaker. The sight of him like that made my stomach twist, but I kept my face blank. He opened his eyes when he heard me step in. For a moment, there was something unreadable in his gaze. Then he sighed. "So you do still care." I didn't take the bait. "Are you okay?" He shrugged. "I'll live." Then, after a pause, "Your mother told you?" I nodded. He exhaled, shifting uncomfortably. "She worries about you." I almost laughed. "She worries about them. She worries about whether I'll give in and take care of everything." His eyes darkened. "Family is family." And there it was, the same line I had heard my whole life. I clenched my jaw. Then why didn't that rule apply to me? He looked away, saying nothing. I wasn't sure if it was guilt or just exhaustion, but I didn't care anymore. I had spent too long trying to get answers from people who refused to see the truth. I turned to leave. "I'm glad you're okay." But just as I reached the door, his voice stopped me. "You know, she's having the baby soon." I didn't turn around. "She'll be here any day now," he continued. "I know you're angry, but this child is innocent in all of this." I swallowed hard, gripping the door handle. "Then it's a good thing she has a father to take care of her." I walked out, ignoring my mom's questioning look as I passed. I had done my part. I had checked in. Now I was done. Or at least I thought I was. 2 weeks later, I got another message. This time it wasn't about my dad. It was about the baby. She had been born early, and there were complications. And once again, my family expected me to step in. I stared at the message. "The baby came early. She's in the NICU. We need help." For a moment I felt nothing. Then slowly anger crept in. Of course they were calling me now. It didn't matter how badly they had treated me, how much they had taken from me. They still expected me to be there when they needed something. I ignored the message. Then came the calls. First from my mom, then my dad, then my brother. I let them all go to voicemail. But later that night, as I lay in bed, I found myself thinking about the child. My niece, a baby who had no idea what kind of mess she had been born into. She hadn't betrayed me. She hadn't asked for this. So the next morning, I found myself driving to the hospital. Not for them, for her. When I got there, I kept my distance. I spotted my family in the waiting area. My mom pacing, my dad staring at the floor, my brother and Lisa whispering to each other. They looked exhausted. Before they could see me, I asked a nurse about the baby. She told me she was stable but small, struggling with her breathing. It wasn't uncommon for preemies, but she would need to stay in the hospital for a while. That should have been enough. I got my answer. I should have left. But then my mom saw me. Her eyes lit up with hope, and she rushed over. "You came," she breathed, grabbing my arm. Pulled away. "I came to check on her." That's it. My dad stood up, looking at me like I was finally acting like a real son. My brother, however, just crossed his arms and scoffed. "So now you care?" I shot him a glare. "Unlike you, I don't run from responsibility." His face twitched, but before he could respond, my mom stepped in. "We need to talk." I already knew what was coming. "No, you need money." She flinched, but she didn't deny it. "The hospital bills, they're adding up. We're drowning, and your brother." I cut her off. "No, I'm not paying a dime." Lisa finally spoke, her voice weak. "She's your niece." I turned to her. And you were my wife. Her face paled. You made your choice. Live with it. I turned to leave, but my dad's voice stopped me. You're being selfish. I let out a sharp laugh. You really want to talk to me about selfishness? I gestured to my brother. You're the ones who threw me away like garbage. You're the ones who expected me to fix everything after ruining my life. I shook my head. Not anymore. I walked out without another word. Later that night, I got one final text from my mother. You'll regret this. I turned off my phone and went to sleep. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. But as always, my family wasn't done with me yet. For the first time in months, I felt like I had taken control of my life. I had finally put my foot down, refused to be their safety net, and walked away without guilt. I didn't owe them anything. Not my time, not my money, not my forgiveness. And yet, they weren't done with me. A few weeks passed in silence. No calls, no messages. It was almost unsettling. I had grown used to their constant attempts to manipulate me, so the quiet felt unnatural. I figured they had finally accepted that I wasn't going to be their personal bank. Then, out of nowhere, I got a notification from my bank. A large withdrawal had been made from my account. Confused, I checked my statements. My heart stopped. Several $1,000s had been transferred out. Panic set in as I checked how it happened. Then I saw it, an old joint account I had forgotten about. Years ago, before I was married, my parents convinced me to open an account with them. Just in case, they had said. I had long since moved on to my own accounts and hadn't touched that one in years. But apparently my parents still had access. And they had drained it. Rage flooded through me. They hadn't asked. They hadn't even warned me. They had stolen from me. I called my mom immediately. She picked up on the first ring, as if she had been expecting it. You took my money? I said, my voice low and dangerous. She didn't even sound ashamed. We needed it. The hospital bills. I don't care. My hands were shaking. That was my money. You stole from me. She sighed, as if I was the unreasonable one. You wouldn't help, so we had no choice. I laughed bitterly. You had a choice. You could have figured it out like adults. But no, you took the easy way out. Like always. It's just money, she snapped, her tone shifting. You'll make more. You're doing fine, aren't you? That was the moment it hit me. They didn't feel bad. They didn't regret it. They expected me to just accept it and move on. I clenched my jaw. You have 24 hours to send it back. Her voice hardened. Or what? I didn't hesitate. Or I press charges. Silence. For the first time, she seemed genuinely shocked. You would do that to your own mother? I had never been more certain of anything. Yes. I hung up. Less than an hour later, my brother called. Dude, what the hell? You're actually threatening Mom with the police. She stole from me, I said coldly. She was desperate, he argued. Lisa is still recovering, the baby. I don't care, I interrupted. She stole. End of story. He scoffed. You're being petty. I smiled bitterly. And you're being a parasite. He cursed and hung up on me. The next morning I checked my account. The money was back. No apology. No explanation. Just the quiet confirmation that they knew they had crossed a line. But I knew better now. They weren't done. Not by a long shot. I thought that getting my money back would be the end of it. That maybe, just maybe, my family had finally realized they couldn't keep using me. I was wrong. A week after the stolen money incident, I got a call from an unknown number. I usually ignored those, but something told me to pick up. It was Lisa. I nearly hung up right then and there, but her voice sounded different, tired. I know you don't want to hear from me, she said quickly, but I had to call. I said nothing. She took a shaky breath. I left your brother. That caught me off guard. What? I took the baby and left, she repeated. I'm at a shelter. I rubbed my temple, trying to process what she was saying. Why are you telling me this? Because I have no one else, she admitted. And I need to tell you something. I didn't respond, so she just continued. He's been cheating on me, she said bitterly. The whole time I was pregnant. Even now that the baby's here. She let out a humorless laugh. Guess it's my turn to be the idiot, huh? I wasn't surprised. Not even a little. My brother had always been selfish, impulsive. The moment things got difficult, of course, he would look for an escape. Lisa exhaled sharply. I know I don't deserve your sympathy. I hurt you. I betrayed you. But her voice broke. I don't want my daughter growing up with him as a father. I don't want her to be raised around your family. I stayed silent, my emotions warring inside me. Then she dropped the real bombshell. She's not his. I went completely still. She took another shaky breath. I did a paternity test. The baby. She isn't his. My stomach twisted. Then whose is she? Lisa hesitated. I don't know. She sighed. I was seeing someone else near the end of our relationship. Someone who wasn't him. I closed my eyes, trying to process everything. My brother had destroyed my marriage for a baby that wasn't even his. My parents had drained my bank account to support a child that had no blood relation to them. And now Lisa, the woman who had broken me, was turning to me for help. I know I have no right to ask, she continued, her voice small. But if I don't get out of here soon, I'll have to go back to them. I need help. I let out a slow breath. And what exactly do you expect me to do? I don't know, she admitted. But I'm scared. Your brother doesn't know I left yet. And when he finds out, she trailed off, but I knew exactly what she meant. My brother had never been violent before, but he was entitled, impulsive, and reckless. And now he was about to find out that he had thrown his entire life away for a child that wasn't his. For the first time in a long time, I had all the power, and I had no idea what to do with it. I sat in silence, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Lisa's words echoed in my head. The baby isn't his. I had spent so long resenting that child, resenting the way my family had demanded I take responsibility for her. And now, she wasn't even my brother's kid. I should have felt satisfied. I should have laughed and told Lisa she got what she deserved. But the exhaustion in her voice, the fear, it stuck with me. Where are you? I finally asked. She gave me the name of the shelter. It wasn't far. I sighed. I'll meet you there. I had no idea why I said it. Maybe curiosity. Maybe some deep, buried part of me that still had a shred of decency. When I got there, Lisa looked worse than I'd ever seen her. Her hair was unkempt, her clothes baggy. She cradled the baby, a tiny thing wrapped in a blanket, as if she was the only thing keeping her together. She looked up at me, eyes full of guilt. I didn't think you'd come. I crossed my arms. Neither did I. We sat in the shelter's common area, awkward silence between us. Finally, I spoke. Why tell me all this? You could have just disappeared. Lisa let out a humorless laugh. I tried disappearing, but I have no job, no savings, and your family is the only thing I have left. She swallowed. And I don't want them. That, at least, we agreed on. I studied the baby in her arms. You said you don't know who the father is. She shook her head. I was seeing someone after you left. I thought she was your brother's, but when she was born, she hesitated. She didn't look like him, so I did a test behind his back. My mind raced. My brother had destroyed my marriage, torn apart our family, and turned me into the villain. All for a child that had nothing to do with him. And soon he was going to find out. He's going to lose it, I muttered. Lisa paled. That's what I'm afraid of. I had a choice. I could walk away, let my brother deal with the mess he helped create. Or I could make sure Lisa and the baby never had to go back to him, to my parents, to the toxic cycle that had nearly destroyed me. I made my decision. You can't stay here, I said. You need to get as far away from them as possible. Lisa looked down at the baby. I know, but I don't have anywhere to go. I exhaled. I can help you. Not because I forgive you, but because that baby didn't ask for any of this. Tears welled up in her eyes. I don't deserve this. No, I agreed. But she does. I helped her find a place. Nothing fancy, just somewhere safe. I gave her enough to get back on her feet. Nothing more. And when my family found out, they lost their minds. My brother called me, screaming, demanding to know where Lisa had gone. My mom accused me of stealing his family. My dad called me a disgrace. And I hung up on them all. I was finally free.